So this video is going to be a little different, but I hope you can relate. And to be honest, I've been procrastinating putting this video out. And I'll be completely honest, I'm a little uncomfortable talking about dreams and goals on camera, but I'm going to give it a go. You see, like most of you, I love woodworking, and I someday dream of this being my full-time job or even a successful side business. I enjoy quick projects, easy projects that keep my hands busy, but the ultimate goal would be to build custom furniture, which is why I took on this project after saying no to it 2 times already. I told myself I wasn't set up properly for this job, which is ultimately why I said yes to it. Let me explain. If you're anything like me, then something as simple as a hobby like woodworking can quickly turn into a bit of an obsession. When you're not actually doing woodworking yourself, you're watching somebody else do it on YouTube. And we've all seen the videos, people with what seems to be unlimited budget and tools at their fingertips, building these elaborate builds every single day. But when you really sit and think about it, the majority of these people that have had great success on these videos likely started somewhere very similar to a shop like mine. And I actually thought about that so much that a little less than a year ago, it caused me to get up off my couch and say, I'm going to try and make a video. And it was certainly outside of my comfort zone, and still is. Actually, at the time of this taping, only the 4 people that live in my house and 3 other people, I'm not exaggerating, only 3 other people know that I even make these videos. And I kept it that way on purpose for a couple reasons. The main one being I'm a 41-year-old man that decided to go out to his garage and start videotape himself doing a project with no prior experience to video editing software or talking on camera. But I would imagine that's how most people that do this started out. And I mean, wouldn't it be much cooler if someone finally did find out and I had like 20,000 subscribers? On the other hand, if it went the opposite way and nobody at all watched it and I made a fool of myself or felt like I did, then I could quietly delete all evidence of it ever happening. I really have no clue how this is all going to go, but one thing I do know is if I don't try, it's not going to go anywhere. Well, by now you might be wondering what kind of project I'm doing and what it has to do with what I'm talking about, so let me try to tie it all in. A few months ago, a friend of mine contacted me and was looking at getting a custom island countertop done. I declined, and that was it for a week or two, and it came back up, and I said, no, I really shouldn't. My shop's not really conditioned. It's starting to get cold out. Wood can be temperamental in temperature and moisture and blah, blah, blah. But it was really just more excuses to avoid the potential risk of failure. When he came back again and said he really wanted me to do this, I really had no choice but to say yes. I couldn't make excuses for myself anymore, so I just said yes, let's do it. If I really want to be able to make custom furniture and pick and choose my jobs, even if it is a side hustle down the road, I'm gonna have to eventually take on something I'm a little bit uncomfortable with. And who knows, if I keep making videos, in 5 years' time, I look back at this and maybe my shop looks a lot different or the builds look a lot bigger. Who knows? I can't pass up the opportunity. The week leading up to the build, I spent countless hours on my tools. I bought new blades for the joiner, new blades for the table saw, new blades for the planer, and I wanted to make sure everything was nice and square. I didn't want to miss one single step of this, as it's kind of a butcher block style top. Not technically a butcher block because everybody knows it has to be the end grain, but we'll still call it butcher block. There's going to be over 40 individual 2-inch wide pieces on this whole tabletop, so I really wanted to make sure that each piece was as straight and flat as possible for my small shop. I double and triple checked any alignment I could possibly think of before I started the initial cutting. I went as far as to rip down all my pieces and leave them just a little wide so that I could joint them individually. This way I didn't lose much of the thickness. Any little cupping that might be there would be almost gone by the time I cut it into 2-inch pieces, so I really wanted to make sure I could keep this table as thick as possible. Doing it this way meant that I had to run approximately 50 individual pieces over this joiner, some of them multiple times. But at the end, I didn't lose very much thickness at all, so the shaky arms and shoulders were definitely worth it in the end. Once all 50 pieces were jointed, that meant all 50 pieces need to be plain. Again, this was time consuming, but it's just the method I used. And I'm well aware that someone that does this all the time is going to have a much faster method. But this being my first big tabletop, I was okay with spending the extra time and the extra steps to make sure that I got a quality product at the end. Along the way, I did learn some things that I know I would do different next time, but this was fine for a first time round. And once I planed them down, I took them back to the table saw. I intentionally left these to be about 2 inches and 1/16 wide. That way I can take about half a blade length off the outside edge and get a real nice, smooth, jointable face. And although I was a bit skeptical at first by using a table saw blade for a joint face, it actually turned out really smooth. Better than it would have on my old joiner, I think. The blade I'm using was bought specifically for this, and it did not disappoint. Money well spent. If you've been hearing me list out the different things I've bought for this project, it doesn't take an expert to realize that I'm really not going to make any money on this. What I am going to have is the tools to do the job again next time, though. One thing that could help, though, is if you took a second to hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe I can make a little change off this video to help out. Once I had all my pieces cut to size, I laid them all out and found where I was going to have my butt joints. And I needed perfectly square butt joints, so I opted for another brand new blade, a crosscut blade, and I built a brand new crosscut sled. Honestly, at this point, I'm probably just working for tools and experience, which I'm okay with. But I must admit, all these extra steps and attention to detail has made the whole process go very smooth, much better than I had it built up to in my own head. Since I didn't have a long enough even table in my shop, I built a temporary one out of 2x4s and plywood. I really wanted a perfectly level surface to lay all my clamps on. I really wanted to eliminate any potential mistake with the glue up or something not sitting level, so for the extra 15 minutes it took me to build this, it was well worth it. The first step I took on the glue up was pre-gluing the butt ends. The end grain is so absorbent that I let the glue sit on there for 5 to 10 minutes and then I recoat it again, and then I'll glue up all my pieces and clamp it together. So again, right up to this point, everything was going very smooth. All I had left to do was put the glue on. What could possibly go wrong there, right? Well, that's certainly inconvenient. I wouldn't call it devastating, so I just reached for a rag and cleaned up the glue pretty quickly. But this minor mishap actually had a lingering effect. That rag that I panicked and grabbed, I actually used that on my wood stove to clean out some old creosote. I just got lucky on the first wipe, but when I wiped off this mahogany, I didn't get so lucky, and I rubbed soot right down the whole piece. And this is where I really panicked. I couldn't get the soot to wipe off, so I ran over and quickly grabbed my orbital sander. Lucky for me, the soot was on the top side of the piece and not a jointed side, and I gave it a quick sand and took it off. But this also meant that I was losing valuable time on my glue up. Typebond 3 claims they have an assembly time of 20 to 25 minutes in perfect conditions, and I really tested it here. I could really tell by the time I got to the end of the glue up that I no longer had the ability to freely move the pieces for alignment, and I was just in a bad spot with the last few pieces. It wasn't a good feeling at all. Up to this point, I believe I did everything possible to avoid losing any thickness off the table. But with this glue up being a little uneven, I knew I was going to have to sacrifice some. I couldn't really take everything apart and start over. I'll be completely honest, I lost some sleep over this, and I felt sick to my stomach. Before the glue up was even dry, I had convinced myself that I was going to have to start over. Now, I had all intentions of taking these two pieces to a friend to use the drum sander, but just for peace of mind, I spent an hour or two sanding this all down just to assess how much material I was actually going to lose. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I kept flip-flopping back and forth to, oh, that's not too bad at all, to, oh man, you're going to lose so much. I guess I really just had to take it to the drum sander to find out. At least the second half glue up went flawless. But that glue up being perfect doesn't help me much if the first piece is too thin to use. So I loaded the two pieces in my truck for the final verdict. At least it's a nice dry day and I don't have to worry about tarping it and the sun shines out. I'm just trying to stay positive here. I didn't get any footage of the drum sanding. I was in somebody else's shop using their machinery, and they were busy as well, so I didn't want to bog us down with videotaping. But I'm pleased to say that I still have just barely over an inch and a quarter of material. Now, considering I started with stock that was called inch and a half, I'll admit it was slightly thicker than that, and I still ended up with inch and a quarter after all that milling. I'm pretty happy with that. I had myself all worked up for no reason at all. But when you don't know, you don't know. I guess I just assumed the worst because I wanted this to work out so badly. Now I'm going to take apart my temporary table and repurpose it into a bigger temporary table now that I got to glue the two pieces together. But first, against my better judgment, I decided to run my track saw down one piece because the fit wasn't quite 100% perfect. Now, looking back, it was definitely good enough. I just happened to pick out one slight flaw that I didn't like, so I ended up cutting this down, and it actually took me 3 tries to get a straight enough joint. I don't know if I'll ever fully learn to leave good enough alone and stop trying to chase this absolute perfection that never seems to exist in woodworking, but I'm working on it. Then it was time for the final glue up. And compared to the other two glue ups with all the small, multiple pieces, this was a breeze. Sure, I had to climb around on my table and clamps like a little kid on a jungle gym, but from here on out, the most difficult part of the job was just handling the tabletop. It weighed 145 pounds when both halves were glued together. And given the size of the tabletop and my smaller shop, I arranged pickup to be done just days after the final glue up, so I didn't have to hold on to this for too long. Once it was glued, I just had to cut everything down to its final dimensions. Then I grabbed a brand new round over bit and softened up all the edges. This might actually end up costing me money. Then it was time for the sanding. And I have to admit, this sanding this time did not bother me in the least. It was likely due to all the tedious work that led up to it and the times of uncertainty not knowing if I'd even get to this point. But I found it very therapeutic and I was happy to do it this time. I'm going to be using a Rubio monocoat for the finish on this. And I decided to use that largely in part because this is a hard maple. And after we had chose the type of wood we were going to use for the project, the client had mentioned they wanted it to be a little darker. Now, hard maple is notoriously hard for staining. It can turn out blotchy if it's not prepped properly. And I was really impressed by the customer service with Rubio, and I felt confident that this would be the right product. I've only used Rubio once in the past, and it was on a much smaller table. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with the easy application on this, and the coverage of the product was better than I expected as well. I think investing in a polishing pad for my sander would definitely been beneficial for this, but at this point I'm done investing in the shop on this build. And just like that, the project's done. My biggest client build to date, one of hopefully many. I went from not being sure that I even wanted to do this to being very happy that I did. I got to prove that I could do this. Some parts were harder than expected, and some were only as hard as I made them. But the one thing I'm most confident in is that the next one will be easier, but not as easy as the one after that. So I'm really glad I did this, and I actually look forward to the next one. And most importantly, the client was even happier than I was with the work. So here's to many more. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe button and follow me on my journey. Thanks for watching.